Welcome to your Houston Rewind for the last week of September. I'm KHOU 11 digital anchor Brandy Smith. We know catching up on the news can be a little overwhelming, especially in a city like Houston where it just doesn't stop. So every weekend, we're taking this opportunity to fill you in on some of the stories you may have missed. Let's rewind. A major announcement on Monday that will change the landscape of the East End and Fifth Ward neighborhoods. Buffalo Bayou Partnership will invest $310 million to expand east from Buffalo Bayou Park. Nancy and Rich Kinder donated $100 million of that. The rest will come from the city, county, and feds, as well as private investors. The plan includes new trails, parks, and a pedestrian bridge across the bayou, plus a library and a Hispanic History Research Center, all in the next 10 years.
When it comes to the greater East End, and when it comes to Fifth Ward, we have not had what I call transformational investment, transformational gifts given to the East Side and to the Fifth Ward, two underserved communities. Well, today, that has changed.
The project also includes a mixed income housing project to prevent neighbors from being displaced. That's set to break ground in October. You can dig into more of the plan's details in this article on KHOU.com. All right. We got it? Waiting.
And we have impact. A giant leap for humanity in the name of planetary defense.
That's not a scene out of the next space blockbuster. NASA made history Monday when it slammed a spacecraft into an asteroid, hoping to change its orbit. Lauren Talarico shows us how NASA pulled it off.
Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and DART.
A NASA flight that lifted off last November
3, 2, 1.
ended at 6:14 Central.
Oh, wow.
As a crash on a faraway asteroid.
We've never done this before.
NASA Chief Scientist Kate Calvin helps explain the galactic Grand Slam. Its double asteroid redirection test spacecraft, or DART, collided with Dimorphos, a small asteroid about 7 million miles away, orbiting a larger asteroid in hopes of changing its orbit.
Planetary defense is NASA's way of protecting planet Earth from potential comet and asteroid hazards.
Dimorphos is about the size of NRG Stadium. The DART spacecraft, they slammed into it, was only the size of a vending machine. But with a 14,000 mile per hour impact, they're hoping that's enough to knock it slightly off course. CBS space analyst Bill Harwood.
It's a very small change, but it's a proof of concept. They want to prove that you have the ability to deflect an asteroid if they ever spot one heading toward Earth on a collision course.
NASA says there is no known celestial threat to Earth for the next 100 years. But after what scientists think happened to the dinosaurs,
This is our first test of planetary defense.
it's always good to be prepared.
All right.
So, did it work? We just don't know yet. It will take several days to track Dimorphos to see if they were able to nudge it, but we'll keep you posted. I'm Lauren Talarico, KHOU 11 News.
Later in the week, NASA released these images of the impact. Pretty wild. Scientists say they won't know the precise change until November. The NBA season is almost here, which means the Houston Rockets are going to be back in action soon. On Monday, Daniel Gotera went to Media Day to catch up with the team about this season's goals.
It's no secret that the Rockets are rebuilding, but that doesn't mean they can't have fun while doing so. Today at Media Day, this young, talented core group that they've put together over the last couple of years were very optimistic about what lies ahead. They know it's going to be hard, but head coach Stephen Silas said that it's not going to be easy for other teams coming in here to Toyota Center to play them.
The main thing that we're going to be is super hard to play against.
The upside with this group is clear, but growing pains are part of the process. One of their new pieces is third overall pick Jabari Smith Jr.
Just being with my teammates and playing against them for so long, I'm just ready to get out there and play against somebody else.
Yes, they are young. Eric Gordon is the seasoned vet, and he's 33 years old.
Yeah, I mean, those guys entertain me all the time. For me, it's just all about setting an example day to day.
Winning is the goal, but Silas has to balance that with development. Lots of off-season work together should help that second part for sure.
It's super rare. I mean, I've never seen it like this before where, you've had basically the whole team in.
We're all young, we're all around the same age, so like, you know, our wants, our needs, our likes, everything is kind of like in the same ballpark.
Training camp for the Rockets starts tomorrow in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Their first preseason game is Sunday against the San Antonio Spurs. The NBA season is right around the corner. Hard to believe. At Toyota Center, Daniel Gotera, KHOU 11 News.
Tuesday, a day ahead of Hurricane Ian's landfall in Florida, many people listened to evacuation orders and headed to the airport. Some came here to Houston, landing at Hobby and Bush on the last flights out of Tampa and Fort Myers. This wasn't part of the plan for everyone, but others did just tweak existing travel plans to make sure they didn't get stranded. One couple from Tampa decided to leave 2 days early for a wedding happening in Houston this weekend. And they say it wasn't easy leaving everything behind, but they're relieved to be out of harm's way.
Oh, you batten down the hatches, the storm shutters. We're in a beachfront condo that's 3 stories up. So you just make sure you unplug everything, turn off the utilities, get the cars. We took both cars over to the airport and parked them up on the 3rd floor because we're concerned about the storm surge.
They were lucky to get out when they did Tuesday night. Airports canceled hundreds of flights and completely shut down on Wednesday ahead of the storm's landfall. Healthcare professionals are sounding the alarm about the next possible pandemic due to a significant drop in routine vaccinations. Rekha Muddaraj and the KHOU 11 Investigates team looked at the numbers.
The last 2 years, we've lost a lot of ground.
As the new school year begins, data from the Texas Department of State Health Services shows a drop in vaccination rates among kindergartners for polio and measles, mumps, and rubella, or MMR, between 2019 and 2021. And one of the most significant drops happened at the state's largest school district, Houston ISD.
Anytime we see a drop like that, we know that we're at risk of having an outbreak.
In 2019, 95% of the HISD student population was vaccinated for both MMR and polio. But in the fall of 2021, those rates dropped to 79% for MMR and 78% for polio. Shantae Hale, the executive director of health and medical services at HISD, points to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Parents weren't able to get into their doctors, maybe spent a little bit too much time on TikTok, getting some of the misinformation there. But we did see a period of time when doctors' offices weren't open. And when parents miss that important date for getting the vaccination, they kind of forget about it.
Private schools have seen reduced vaccinations as well. A 35 percentage point drop in the number of students vaccinated against MMR at Primrose School at Summerwood, and a 22 percentage drop at Berean Christian Academy. At St. Mark Lutheran School, the data shows a 12 percentage point drop for both MMR and polio vaccinations. Pediatrician Dr. Victoria Reagan says state laws have made it easier for parents to opt out by allowing conscientious objections, helping decrease herd immunity.
So once that drops below that 90% threshold, you really increase the risk of having an outbreak of a easily preventable disease.
We have 2 entire adult generations who have never seen these diseases.
Terry Burke with the Immunization Partnership says another part of vaccine resistance is that Americans haven't experienced the devastating effects of diseases like polio, which can cause nerve injury, paralysis, difficulty breathing, and even death, or measles, which can also be fatal for small children. While many parents are playing catch-up when it comes to their child's immunizations, Burke says a small but vocal group are anti-vaccines and spreading bad information.
There's misinformation, which is simply getting the facts wrong. And then there's disinformation, which is a deliberate attempt to distort the truth.
She encourages people to not only get their children vaccinated, but speak up when disinformation is shared.
Vaccines are the easiest way to keep your children safe from disease. That's the one thing you can do to be certain your kids are safe.
Houston ISD has several vaccine drives happening over the next few days at schools across the district. Just go to KHOU.com for details. Also, in our story online, you can see the vaccination rates at your child's school. I'm Rekha Muddaraj for KHOU 11 News.
You can check out this interactive map comparing school vaccination rates in 2019 to those in 2021 on KHOU.com. An 11-year-old girl had the time of her life this month, getting to do something nobody thought she could. Mary, who was born with cerebral palsy, got to steal a base at the Astros game. On Tuesday, Matt Dougherty shared her story.
What you see is something that Mary was never supposed to be able to do. The 11-year-old girl was born with cerebral palsy.
For her, it's what makes her nonverbal, because the part that controls speech is affected, and then her muscles and all that just don't communicate with her brain the way they should.
When she was young, her doctors were less than optimistic.
Her doctors basically gave us no hope. They told us she wouldn't be able to eat, she won't be able to talk, she won't be able to walk, she'll need help for the rest of her life.
One of them even advised her mother, Kaylin, to give Mary up.
He suggested that when she was a mature age, so a teenager, to go ahead and put her in a home.
But for this family, that simply wouldn't do. Instead of giving up hope, they gave it a try.
We've literally been in therapy since she was 3 months old.
Mary's thousands of hours of hard work have paid off. When her family asked if she could steal the base like the other kids do between innings at the Astros games, they weren't sure if the team would go for it.
There's a lot of times where we're told no, she can't do something because it's not accessible, or it's a liability, or it's too hard.
To their surprise, the team said it was fine. And with the help of her mom, Mary did it with an unforgettable smile on her face.
I think they see a kid who is typically in a wheelchair that shouldn't be able to do the things that she can do, and she got up and she basically ran to go steal the base.
This was the game that Mary won, proving so many naysayers wrong.
She's just like everybody else. It just takes a little bit of accommodation and modification.
In Beaumont, I'm Matt Dougherty, KHOU 11 News.
As Category 4 Hurricane Ian made landfall, KHOU 11 meteorologist Chita Craft was flying above it with hurricane hunters. Once she was back on land, she shared what that experience was like.
Early Wednesday morning, we boarded this WC-130J, the 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Squadron and the U.S. Naval Academy on the same flight, 2 separate missions.
This is an airborne expendable bathy thermograph. It's used by a group from the U.S. Naval Academy that then pushes that into a launcher. Through this launcher, it can go down as low as 800 meters into the ocean. It has a radio inside that then signals back the water temperature inside a plane.
2 different instruments on this flight that help gather data for tropical systems.
The drop zones, they get a profile of the atmosphere from where we drop them on the plane down to the surface of the ocean.
Christina Peretta is an in-flight meteorologist who is in constant coordination with the National Hurricane Center.
There's actually a few messages from them right now. We have a SATCOM system that we can message back and forth with them. And we're really looking at those surface winds, because when the National Hurricane Center puts out their watches, warnings, and advisories, that's what the strength of the storm is based on, is the wind surface.
When hurricane hunters fly in these storms, the information they collect is invaluable. The track from the Hurricane Center can change, which means evacuations change, which saves lives.
I think that's probably one of the most rewarding parts of the job, is that we know that we're out here doing something that's going to make an impact on potentially millions of people.
You can see more from Cheetah's flight with the hurricane hunters on our KHOU 11 YouTube channel. Just look for this playlist. In Katy Wednesday, dozens of parents showed up at Peyto High School to get their kids after what we later learned was an unfounded shooting threat. This incident, though, followed a fight inside the school Tuesday, during which a security guard was knocked to the floor. The district says at least 1 student was detained. Unfortunately, we live in a time when schools get threats. Some are hoaxes, some aren't. So how do schools figure out which are actually dangerous? KHOU 11 Investigates looked at thousands of threats recorded by Houston area districts. Cheryl Mercedes talked to the teams tasked with making that call.
A new school year comes with tighter security across Clear Creek ISD.
It's on the front of my mind every day.
Ashley Orr is the principal at Clear Creek High.
This is our main entry point into the building.
A bullet-resistant vestibule provides a barrier between the Wildcats and the outside world. School liaison officers like Galveston County Sheriff's Corporal Amanda Jones interacts with students as she patrols campus. And then there's this. Assistant Superintendent of Support Services Paul Miller says door ajar alarms have been installed on every set of doors on all school campuses.
They activate after 5 minutes of the door being open continuously.
Administrators get an email letting them know that an alarm was triggered. A follow-up message is sent once it's cleared.
The goal is to keep the building secure.
CCISD Safety Committee members.
The district's safety committee made the recommendation following the Uvalde school shooting. Interim Superintendent Dr. Karen Engel.
It has parents, staff, law enforcement, community members.
That team is part of the ISD's Safe and Supportive Schools program required under Senate Bill 11. Team members are tasked with reviewing threat reports, doing threat assessments, developing interventions, and reporting their data to the Texas Education Agency. KHOU 11 Investigates dug into that data and looked at the number of threats Greater Houston districts reported last school year. There were more than 8,600. 4% of them were labeled an imminent threat and reported to law enforcement. Clear Creek ISD received the most threats with more than 1,900. Its team determined 91% of them did not pose a threat, but all were referred for intervention.
We take every threat on initially as viable. And then we go through and start the investigation immediately. It's kind of real time. You never want to discount anything.
After Clear Creek, the district with the second most threats was Lamar Consolidated ISD with 833. They were followed by Katy with 791. All of Katy's ended in intervention, and about half of Lamar's. Back at Clear Creek's main office, Cameron Munson adds another layer of safety support. He is the district's emergency management specialist. With a 360 view of every campus, he can pull up a camera at a moment's notice.
We are able to follow around that individual through recorded footage and, kind of track their location throughout the building.
On the ground at Clear Creek High, Principal Orr is doing everything in her power to make sure she has the grounds covered.
Our community sends their most precious resources to us. If they aren't safe, and if we aren't safe in this building, then the learning that needs to happen can't occur.
A number of the school districts told KHOU 11 if they have a lot of threats, that's actually a good thing because it means students are speaking up. If you'd like to see how many threats were reported in your school district, check out this interactive map on KHOU.com. He has a reputation for helping out in the community, and Trae the Truth was at it again on Wednesday. Ron Trevino introduced us to Trae's new program helping homeless students at one HISD school.
3, 2, 1.
At Young Elementary in the Sunnyside area of South Houston, a once empty classroom now transformed into a store-like place where homeless students can get things they need for free.
So you have some kids that eat lunch and then won't eat again until tomorrow because they don't have, they don't have a place to stay, let alone somewhere to cook or eat anything.
Trae the Truth, the Houston rapper known for giving back, is partnering with HISD by opening Truth's Do Good Closet.
At this particular campus, we serve a large population of homeless students who have a variety of needs from food to clothes to supplies to toiletries, and Trae has filled up our closet with all of those things that the community and the students need.
There's non-perishable food provided by Kroger, clothing, shoes, supplies, all free to students who need it the most.
We want to provide for our families and to ensure that they have what's necessary so that our students can concentrate on the most important thing in the public education sector, which is learning.
This Do Good Closet at Young Elementary is meant to be just the first. The plan is for more to follow at other HISD schools where the population of homeless students is high.
On Thursday, the local Catholic community said its final farewell to Archbishop Emeritus Joseph Fiorenza. A funeral mass was held at the Co-Cathedral of the Sacred Heart in downtown Houston. The former longtime leader of the Archdiocese of Galveston-Houston passed away last week at the age of 91. He's remembered as a champion for civil rights, having marched with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. back in 1965. Never leave a weapon in your car. ATF Houston made that message loud and clear on Thursday, adding that guns used in violent crime are often stolen out of vehicles. Jason Miles broke down the numbers.
Taking aim at a surge in gun thefts. ATF Houston saying the last 12 months may have been worse than ever.
Just in the city of Houston, almost 4,000 guns were stolen from vehicles.
Special Agent in Charge Fred Milanowski took part in a press conference today announcing new initiatives by the feds to help communities like Houston combat violent crime. He says data shows guns swiped from cars and trucks are very often used to commit other crimes.
That's not the only way they're getting guns. But it's a significant way, and it's a way that everyone in the public can step up today and make a difference.
Milanowski says if you think leaving a gun hidden in your vehicle is good enough, it's not. Crooks know to look in glove compartments or in the center console. And Houston police told us in a previous story about how stickers like this can tip them off.
Having your little sticker back here on the back lets you know that you're gun friendly, and somewhere in this truck, there's going to be a gun stored in there.
Lock it in the trunk if you have a car, or get a small gun safe for your truck. You can even use a cable lock to secure a gun to your seat or other immovable part of the car.
Or keep it on you.
Keeping guns out of the hands of criminals is the key.
Some wonder if guns are stolen so that they can be brought to a gun buyback event, since no questions are asked. That's something the DA's office and others raise concerns about. In the wake of Hurricane Ian, volunteers swept in to help in any way they could. That includes Crowdsource Rescue, a nonprofit formed during the Harvey response. Adam Bennett showed us how these crews helped people in the hardest hit areas.
The morning after Hurricane Ian made landfall near Fort Myers.
Obviously, that area is never going to be the same for years.
We're right here with Hurricane Ian right now. Some volunteers in Florida from Houston say they're running on fumes after a long day and an even longer night.
As of this morning, we're not even quite sure the full extent of the damage there.
Crowdsource Rescue co-founder Matthew Marchetti says his volunteers are out again today. They're tweeting photos from the front lines while working through a backlog of requests for rescues and wellness checks.
We're trying to get our way toward Fort Myers if we can. Lots of stuff in the roadway, lots of trees down, things like that.
Volunteers are also working to clear a path in the drier areas.
We're trying to clear those roads, both for other crews to come in, but more importantly for first responders to come in, for the power company to come in, so that we can try and get some of these areas back to some sense of normality at least.
If you need to be rescued or know someone who does, go to crowdsourcerescue.org/hurricanes. And if you want to help the people in Ian's path,
they're going to need a tremendous amount of support.
You can donate or volunteer. Adam Bennett, KHOU 11 News.
A lot of us see that destruction and we want to help. Scammers see that as an opportunity. So if you're looking to donate, you'll want to watch out for red flags. This KHOU.com article details what to keep an eye out for. The University of Houston has a lot of talent among its students and staff, not always on display in the classroom, like the IT guy who just happens to be an accomplished Lego artist. Zach Tawatari introduced us.
Here in Pearland, art takes on many different forms. A UH employee is creating works using a beloved material, one piece at a time. In a place like this,
a lot of times people call it the Lego room.
On canvases like these, a familiar sound takes you back.
My mom and dad, they bought me Lego sets when I was much younger, in the late 70s, early 80s.
But for Gregory Jonason,
for me, it's meditative to do this.
This hobby,
building large Lego sculptures and mosaics,
is an art form.
And I say I'm building or creating something, but my wife says I'm playing with Lego.
There are no instructions. He makes his own.
It's just a big matrix, XY, and I use a number of softwares.
It helps that for 24 years, Jonason has worked in IT at the University of Houston. Legos are the perfect combination, he says.
Art and computer science.
He's built masterpieces like this David Bowie.
It's grayscale. It has 35,840 elements or dots on the front.
And you can see his work in places like Bush Airport, museum exhibits. He's even been commissioned.
When we build these creations, there's some level of satisfaction that we have inside, I think.
Just down the street, his work is showcased at this local store.
It doesn't have to hang on the wall to be art.
Greg's dream is for Lego to display his work.
The biggest payoff of anything is just to have people look at it.
Until then, he'll keep building brick by brick.
You can see it in the expression. It's just priceless.
Zach Tawatari, KHOU 11 News.
Really scary moments on the field during Thursday night football when Dolphins QB Tua Tagovailoa went down and had to be carried off the field. It came just a few days after he was assisted off the field after a hard hit on Sunday. His injuries stirred up a lot of questions about concussions and concussion protocol. Friday, Janelle Bludau got answers.
With football being such a big sport here in Texas, especially on a Friday night, concussions are always top of mind, and so should the warning signs.
To a rolling left.
A scary injury in last night's NFL game. Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa was thrown to the ground, clearly in pain with his fingers clenched in front of his helmet. The team says he suffered a concussion, but his mere presence on the field is drawing questions after a play just 4 days earlier. Sunday, he was knocked down, and when he got up, he shook his head and immediately stumbled to the ground. The team, including Tagovailoa, called it a back injury, and he returned in the second half after the Dolphins say he passed concussion protocol.
The NFL protocol is the strictest, or not one of the strictest, in all of professional sports.
But some, like neuroscientist Chris Nowinski, CEO of the Concussion Legacy Foundation, say clearing Tagovailoa after Sunday's hit put his life at risk.
This is a failure by everybody. This is a failure by the medical team. This is a failure by the independent medical team on Sunday. This is a failure by the coaching staff. The problem is all these failures, none of them are going to be punished. The person who is punished here is Tua.
So as players take the field tonight,
you are looking at about 10 to 15% of high school football players will sustain a concussion in a given season.
Dr. Kenneth Padell, director of the Houston Methodist Concussion Center, says it's always important to know the signs of a concussion, both the more obvious ones like stumbling or confusion, and the subtle signs like wincing or mood changes.
When they come off of the field, and let's say they continue to play, they come off the field, if they avoid coach or the athletic trainer, you need to go talk to them, and they need to be able to answer your questions crisp and sharp.
The CDC has an entire website dedicated to sports and concussions. We'll put a link to that on our website, khou.com.
Did a 16-year-old boy shoot and kill his mom and former NFL linebacker dad? A jury will get another chance to answer that question. Jury selection for the retrial of Antonio Armstrong Jr., better known as AJ, starts on Monday. Jason Miles shared what led up to AJ's second trial.
This side street on the edge of Bel Air may have gone unnoticed forever if not for a summer night back in 2016 and what happened to a mom and dad as they slept in their bed. The case drawing a lot of attention at the time because of who the victims were. Antonio Armstrong Sr., who played for Texas A&M and the Miami Dolphins, had been fatally shot in the head, alongside his wife, Dawn, who'd been shot twice. Both were just 42 years old. Their then 16-year-old son, AJ, was charged with both murders and went on trial the first time in 2019. That trial included evidence suggesting AJ's parents were upset by his breaking curfew, bad grades, and smoking weed in the house. Prosecutors also arguing the killer came from inside the house since the alarm was on.
The alarm tells us more than just the killer came from inside of the house. The alarm tells us that the killer came from upstairs.
Armstrong reported hearing gunshots coming from his parents' bedroom and initially blamed an intruder, despite no evidence of forced entry and the murder weapon ending up on the kitchen counter. But his legal team, who tried to cast doubt on an older brother who'd recently moved out, told the jury AJ was the only suspect HPD even considered.
Before any evidence was processed, before they knew anything about the crime scene, as far as forensics, before anything, they made up their mind. He did it.
A mistrial was declared after the jury deadlocked following 3 days of deliberations. Meantime, A.J. Armstrong is now 22 and a father himself. free on bond and living with supportive family members, awaiting another day in court.
If you're looking for more background on the A.J. Armstrong case, KHOU 11's been following it since that shooting in 2016. Check out this YouTube playlist with coverage of his arrest and first trial. A mom is calling out Baytown police after she says officers didn't do their jobs. She says video shows her neighbor shoving her to the ground, and she wants him arrested. Anayeli Ruiz explained what happened.
The mom says she was outside with her 3-year-old autistic son. Her neighbor was upset he was playing with pine needles. That's when she says he assaulted her, and it was all caught on camera.
I actually want to move because I haven't even slept. I just don't feel safe at my house.
This Baytown mother of 4 feels lost. She tells me her peace was taken from her by her next door neighbor and says it all happened on Monday when she went outside to get the mail.
I already told you I don't want him to play with these pine needles. And I'm like, I told you that I'm going to pick them up. It's okay for him to do that.
She said her 3-year-old son Matthew was playing with these pine needles like he normally does on the public sidewalk when her neighbor became enraged.
First he bumps me and I'm like, oh wow, like what is wrong with you? I tell him like that. And he pushes me down. He's like, what are you going to do about it? I told you, I don't want him. And by then I'm like, oh my God, like this is the end.
But his anger, she said, didn't end there. She said he spit on her, and at that moment she feared for her life because he was holding a screwdriver.
My baby is autistic. Please, please. I'm like begging him to stop, please. And nothing would budge.
Fortunately, a truck was passing by after the attack and said her neighbor really didn't back down until police arrived. She said Baytown police didn't believe her, even after she showed them the video, showed them her bruises, scratches, and scrapes on her leg.
Oh, you must have done that when you got up. I'm like, got up from where? Like, I don't understand. Like, you've seen the video. Like, what? Like, I don't understand what you're saying. So you're telling me that I did that to myself?
Her neighbor wasn't arrested. Baytown police confirm he was just given a citation, a Class C misdemeanor assault.
And I do feel that if it would have been a Hispanic man that would have done that to me, he would have been arrested. If it would have been a black man, he would have been arrested right then and there. But because he was white?
Now this mother feels helpless because she says this is not the first time this neighbor harasses her. And it's not the first time she calls police on him.
I have brought everything to the table and no justice. Who protects us then? Who? Not the police, not the Baytown police. The Baytown police has never protected me from day one. No one does that. No one does that to someone, especially with a baby over pine needles. Come on, dude.
We've reached out to our legal expert. She confirms that a Class A misdemeanor is an assault resulting in bodily injury. The Baytown Police Department say the incident didn't rise to this. Anayeli Ruiz, KHOU 11 News.
As always, if we get new information, we'll update this article on KHOU.com. Hope that helped you wrap up this past week and that you are now ready for the next one. Remember, you can tune into KHOU 11 on air, online via KHOU.com and YouTube, as well as by using our KHOU 11 Plus app on Roku and Fire TV. Have a great week.